You're mad. You're upset. So everybody knows we're giving an update because I did say we'd update for everybody listening.
Yes.
Jason did not make the playoffs in the league that I was number one in. And
Somebody's an asshole.
I pulled the average up because we just played against the league median for the weekend. I think I pulled the average up, but his team did not deliver. They scored well, but I got very fortunate in everybody that I had in Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook, and I remember who also had that ripped for me. It was a good week, and I had Josh Allen, good week, George Kittle, killer week, and watch me score. I just scored 181 points, and now my first matchup in the playoffs, watch me drop a dud and score 90. I just wasted all my points in a week where I didn't need them.
Well, I mean, I was just waiting for you to continue to get over your gloating.
I mean,
about getting the 1 seed and you putting up 80 points on a Thursday night, bringing the league medium up, making sure that I don't make. I just wanted to let you get all your boasting out of the way, so I could, do your humble brags.
I mean, all year you've been talking about how you're one of the teams that beat me, and I feel like it just came back around and it was karma. That's what it was. But here's the thing. I'm going to win this league for you because when I win it, you're going to be able to say, well, I beat the defending champion in the regular season. You're going to have that bragging right. So I'm going to do that for you. A selfless act of kindness.
Well, I appreciate it. It is nice to hold a victory over the league champ. I mean, I don't think any of the teams in the conversation in that league can compete with you. Barring injury, nobody in that league should be able to compete with you.
Yeah, and I kind of got nervous. Josh Allen had a little injury there, but thankfully I'll be on a bye week. So hopefully, even if he doesn't play whatever, hopefully he'll have enough time to recover, and I should be fine. If I don't win, I'm gonna be a little mad because I've been trading 2-3 pieces for upgrades, slight upgrades all over the place. But we'll see. But what's going on, guys? Welcome on back to the Second and Short podcast and our in-season fantasy rendition called The Cheap Seats. Now, we've been talking about redraft and dynasty going back and forth every week. And this week is going to be no different, but we are going to kind of do a review. We're going to stay with dynasty. I think this is 2 weeks in a dynasty, but that's okay because dynasty is so more exciting at the end of the season because there's always something to play for, even if you're not in the playoffs, which is going to be our main subject today, the toilet bowl. I am Tyler Lauder. He is Jason, our fantasy expert over on the coast. And overall, before we jump on in, I'm going to let you have the floor and everything. But, the NFL world was saddened by the news, the passing of wide receiver for the Denver Broncos, Demaryius Thomas, 33 years old, very sad. And we don't got to get into any of those personal details, but you kind of wanted to reflect on him a little bit because, I mean, he was a fantasy beast for 3 years straight. I believe he was a top 6 fantasy wide receiver for 3-4 seasons in a row. Once he connected with Peyton Manning as well, that's when he took off.
Yeah, and he's seen his best years once Peyton got to town. And I mean, anybody in the fantasy football world that has been playing this game for as many years as me you have experienced having Demaryius Thomas in your league during your drafts, either owning him or playing against him, and either he's carrying you to a championship or he's wrecking you in a championship. The sports world as a whole lost one of the good ones. Great off the field presence as well as on the field. Genetic freak once he got a quarterback that could get him the ball and adapt to his skill set rather than him having to adapt to a lesser quarterback skill set. And I think the biggest thing about this is what occurred. Denver opens the game, gets the ball, deploys 10 players on the field, does not deploy one receiver, gets the penalty call, defense declines because they wanted that position to be left open when they took the field and honored Thomas. And I think both teams showed much respect in that. And I don't think that he will ever be forgotten. Like I said, great player on and off the field. And the sports world mourns the loss of someone so young that was taken from us too early.
Yeah, I mean, he was a big focal point on social media as well. He had his podcast, his little roundtable with like Chad Ochocinco. And I thought that's like the insight and everything, the way they talked and everything was fantastic. And I really liked listening to him. But we won't dwell on this too much because I mean, it's been all over the sports world all and everything, but it's just kind of reflecting on somebody, we talk about fantasy football that had a major impact in fantasy football and just kind of paying respects to him in that manner, if that makes any sense. And there's no easy way to do this and everything, but let's kind of switch gears a little bit. Let's go ahead and jump into the toilet bowl and consolation brackets. Now this is for dynasty purposes only, because in a redraft league, as soon as I don't make the playoffs, unless we have a last place punishment, I don't care. I'm done. I'm not even going to change my lineup. I'm not going to pick anybody up, which is another topic conversation we'll have to think about here too. But when it comes to dynasty leagues, 12-team league, 6 in, 6 out, and then you got to figure out how you bracket it. And there's an argument in one of our leagues today. So we're going to kind of bring you guys full circle and then kind of give you our insight and then see what you guys would like to do and say as well. So bring us on in to the issues that we have in our league regarding toilet bowl seating right now.
Yeah. So in one league we're in, they had the seating set up exactly as the winners championship. And when it comes to toilet bowl, I think it should be inverted. It's your two worst teams should get to bye instead of the 7-6 teams getting to bye. It should be inverted of your championship bracket because you want to try to help those teams get better. You want I guess you say equality across the board. You want to make the lesser teams better and, to compete for those spots. And we had to point this out. Now, the consolation prize for
this league is pretty big.
range from
our league's pretty big.
Yeah, it's a
first round pick.
It's 113, which is basically essentially a second, basically 2-1. But it's still a big deal. I mean, that's if you don't have any first round picks, boom, that puts you right there. That gives you the option to get a solid player. I mean, it's not always going to hit, but more often than not, it's going to. So a lot of leagues do that. A lot of leagues give you an extra pick in the first round. Some do second round, some do third, some do extra draft picks. We floated an idea to talk about in the offseason in our league that half of the entry pool next year, could be an option. Somebody said full, but I don't think that, sucking should get you a full refund. But I think half is acceptable. So, I mean, I'm curious on what your take is when it comes to compensation for the toilet bowl winner.
So it all depends. So formatting also depends on what your compensation is. If you're in a dynasty league and you're going to reward a draft pick, then I think you have to have the two worst teams, or let's say you have 4 people in a consolation bracket. The worst teams need to have the least resistance to get that draft pick. Because like you were saying, and some people were arguing about this, well, that's not fair and everything. And it's like, hold on a second. Why do we give number 12 the 1.1 in rookie drafts? Because they are the worst team. And we give them 1.1 in hopes that that player will create a competitive balance and bring the shifting of good teams and bad teams back to a median. And by doing that, hopefully you get that competitive nature where you're not sitting with top heavy and bottom trash teams. Compensation picks, I think are key. I really think they should always be picks. I don't really think that the whole half money back thing, I guess, is okay. But for me, it should be picks. It should be, or it should also be, and I'll tell you what I do in one of my leagues. It should be a competition to improve your draft slot. But I do think that there needs to be some type of reward for going on a 3 or 2 game win streak late in the season. I think 113 in our league is way too high That's me personally, but I go with it. I won it before. It's nice to have. It's not like it's not even to use the draft. It's just a tradable asset that you get for free. Somebody just gives you a first round pick that you can now trade away. And that's huge. I do think that if like you have deep rosters, I do think you can use stuff like second and third round picks. That's fine. Third round picks are iffy, but your roster has to be deep. It can't be you have 3 taxi squad spots, which in my eyes is the dumbest thing to have a limited taxi squad. Just saying. I don't understand the purpose of it. The whole point of a taxi squad is to stash guys that nobody else wants. But ultimately, I just think that your end result should be to better the league. By bettering the league, you have the worst teams, more picks and stuff to kind of help them get better. Ideally, I mean, they could still lose. Like the guy that's bitching in our league about the 2 worst teams getting a bye. Like, well, if you win your opening round matchup, you get to play one of those 2 worst teams. So you should be fine, right? But let me tell you what I do in one of my leagues. I have a 16 team league I run. So very big. And it's a constant talk of what should we do to make it competitive for the bottom 8. Top 8 make the playoffs. It goes 4 division winners get automatic seeds into it. The next 3 best records, and then 8th place is the most points scored out of the remaining 9 teams. Teams get reseeded based on record. So just because you're a division winner, you could end up being a 7 seed just because everybody else has a better record than you. We don't just reward that, but you get an automatic pass. Then what I do for the first 4 that miss, so we're talking teams that are ranked 9, 10, 11, and 12. They go into a 4-team tournament. Winner gets rookie pick 1.5. And then after the winner, everybody goes back into their seedings exactly where they were. And then the bottom 4, I don't let them compete for 1.1 because 1.4, like the 4th worst team and the worst team are like, it's a decent gap in most leagues. So what they do is they compete based on potential points, and the lowest potential points gets 1.1. But while they're doing that, they're in a tournament because the winner gets a free 3rd round pick. Now, this is an IDP league, so 3rd round picks are actually very valuable.
Yeah.
But essentially, they get a chance to win their 1.1, win a 3rd round pick. The other guys get a chance to win 1.5, and then the rest of us get to win and play for a championship.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good format. I think that works in a bigger league. That works out great, especially IDP leagues, because IDP leagues are way more deeper than traditional dynasty leagues. So yeah, I mean, that's a great concept and a great model. And has it worked out really well for you through the years?
I've never had an issue. I've never had an issue at all. We switched it because we used to have the bottom 4 competing for 1.1 in a tournament, and then the worst team always lost in the first game, and like the worst team for like 2 years in a row was drafting at 1-2. So it kind of didn't work. So we just tailored it a little bit to go to potential points and a free 3rd round pick. So, but I mean, there's no issues. People enjoy the league. People enjoy the concepts we have in there. There's always something going on. And then I've never had an issue with this. In one of my other leagues that I run at 6 and 6, we do give 3rd round picks are for any league I have an IDP in. The consolation bracket is playing for a 3rd round pick in all my IDP leagues. That's yeah, plain and simple.
So do you prefer IDP league over straight dynasty?
Oh, for sure.
Having that having that flexibility.
Well, it's not just flexibility, but it's also it's just you have to pay more attention to the game. It makes just makes things more entertaining because while you're trying to manage a good roster, you might have really bad running backs and like so receivers, but you've got the 3 best linebackers in all of fantasy. As long as the scoring is balanced, I think IDP is fantastic. The only reason people don't want to play IDP is because I don't know. Actually, I have no idea why people don't play IDP, because some people go, well, I don't understand how they score points. But you don't understand how anybody scores points. You only understand what your league lays out. If you get 1 point for a tackle, you get 1 point for a tackle. And it's all about volume equals value type thing. It comes back to that. Yeah, but it's really interesting and fun because like you have like cornerbacks you have to start, and like you don't want to start the best cornerbacks in the league because they don't get thrown at. They don't get thrown at. They don't do anything. So you want to have guys starting for you at cornerback that are good enough to be rostered in the NFL, but bad enough that every quarterback targets.
Yeah,
is where you want to go. And like your linebackers, you want linebackers that they get a lot of tackles, simple as that. And you want defensive ends to get a lot of sacks and safeties that make a lot of big plays. And it's not that difficult to run and to manage. But for me personally, playing in IDP leagues they're like 2 steps above. It's like going to college from high school from playing in a standard dynasty league.
I guess I see that because I don't know. I've just never been an IDP person. That's why I'm deferring to you on this because maybe I will try out an IDP dynasty.
You probably will because I have
some IDP.
I have some orphans, and you're going to take over at least one team. So
okay. So you've heard it here that I'm already being. He abuses me and is forcing me to take over an orphan. Now I only take over on free money, as you say. I only get to play with free money my first year, since it's an orphan team.
Free money only exists if they don't own their own draft picks. We've talked about that before. That's how I run it. I think. No, that's my opinion on IDPs. But I mean, I'm in the weird place of dynasty football. Anybody listening out there? If you can think of a league, it exists, and I'm probably playing in it right now. And we had an episode, I think it was like episode 2 or 3. We talked about different types of leagues and talked about all the theme leagues. But yeah, so I mean, ideally, circling back to our toilet bowl thing, our consolation, when you set this up in your dynasty leagues, the concept should be the winner of this gets better. By them getting better, it balances the league somewhat. And I think you should give your worst team in the league a 2-game schedule instead of having to win 3 games because they need it more than anybody else. And sure, they get the 1-1, but they need more than that. Like going from 12 to 6 in a dynasty league does not happen in 1 year. I mean, it could, but it does not happen very often in a dynasty league.
Yeah, I mean, it's about a 3-year window.
Yeah.
I think a 3-year window is good. I mean, if you're going to go from your worst team, now granted, sometimes you get the worst team, like in one of my leagues, injury bug bit the shit out of me. I had three of my top running backs on IR. One of my top receivers was on IR. You know, that happens. So typically going from last to a playoff team takes about 2 to 3 years on average. A good window's 3 years. To last to first winning your championship, now barring injury, it's going to take you at least a 5-year commitment.
Yeah. To legitimately do it. I mean, obviously you have times where like you draft a guy and he just like goes off for you at 1-1. Like you get a Barkley at 1-1 at rookie year, and he can maybe get you to a playoff spot, potentially. But I do think that focusing on consolation brackets, toilet bowl, you have to give something that is of value, but you can't. I don't think you can give too much. I think first round picks are too much. That's just me. I'm always going to think that way. But honestly, it should never really matter to me because I should never be in that position to have to worry about that. I should just be trying to win anyways. But yeah, so that's our talk on consolation brackets and toilet bowls right there. And just, do what's best for the league, not what's best for you. Do what's best for the league. The worst team needs to have a shorter road. Simple as that. And I think that's a hard thing for people to understand. When we talk about dynasty football, I'm not calling anybody like dumb or like they can't comprehend it. Just a lot of people, we're playing with our own money. So we care about our own investments and we want our own returns. But sometimes you have to take a step back and go, what would be the best thing for the league? Because the longer the league is around, the more opportunities you have to build and win money. And that's a hard thing for some people to understand. I'm in a league right now, and there are some dudes out there that, oh man, they want to put in a remove a commissioner rule like we're talking about. And I think that's stupid. And they just want to keep like making all these rule changes to make the quality of life just miserable. And I'm like, guys, that's what you want. That's not what the league needs. We got to focus up here. But yeah, do the right thing.
Yeah, and a good parody to that is one league I'm in. I joined it on startup. The commissioner, starting a new league up. He offered our league mates first dibs on getting teams. It's a $150 buy-in, and he let us get in. I got in on the ground floor. In 6 years, yeah, it's been 6 years. We have a league that legitimately, top to bottom, came down to 3 tiebreakers for the last 3 spots. That's how this league is ran, because you have active owners, you have trades, you have people that's willing to make their team across the board. You've had to go through 3 sets of tiebreakers, which our tiebreakers are where it's a division. We went head-to-head division. Then we went overall head-to-head division, head-to-head, then divisional record, and then points. We were so much equal across the board that our total points came down to within 8 points of each other for the last 3 playoff spots. And that's a good league.
All right, so let's talk about position by position on guys that have done well recently that are going to be trending towards starting, and whether or not we think that they should be starting and they're going to continue that. Most of these guys were waiver wire in weeks 12, 13, 14. Some guy you picked up, quarterback, Taysom Hill, 22 points in week 13. That's with a 4 interception game, and then 26 points in week 14, 13, 14 back-to-back. Is he going to continue this trend? He has Tampa Bay, Miami, and Carolina in the fantasy playoffs. Is he a guy that you can rely and start for the next 3 games?
No, he should be on your bench. He can get you to the playoffs, but that's it. He's not going to have the numbers he's been having. He's facing a lot better defenses, and they're going to be able to adjust to that and be able to stop that, because if you're going to limit him on the edges, you're going to be able to shut him down.
This is true. Josh Allen just did roast Tampa Bay. But I mean, realistically, Taysom Hill's got to probably get 60, 70 rushing yards, probably got to get 2+ touchdowns to hit that mark. Like, he's not going to get that on just like passing alone. And I think that's the thing that we have to take in, because that's like Justin Fields, same thing. He needs rushing. But it's interesting to see with Taysom Hill, because he comes in, has a game where he throws 4 picks, still drops 20 fantasy points for you. Then has another game where he doesn't drop that many picks, and he has no touchdowns, though, passing, but now he has 2 rushing touchdowns. I mean, he's getting 11 rushing attempts per game, which is like playing an RB2 essentially. And he's doing well with it. I don't know. I think he could roast Tampa Bay this next week. I think Miami is a much more difficult matchup for him, but the play style we see with Josh Allen, which is a more mobile quarterback than Tampa Bay normally has been going against these past couple of weeks, I think that could benefit Taysom Hill, and he at least could help you this week. Now at running back, we had about time is what I would like to call it, where we had Rashad Penny comes in 27.9 fantasy points. And man, this guy was supposed to be good coming out. He's supposed to be, he's a 1st-round pick. And finally, he comes out. He gets he had 16 carries. He had a target as well in the passing game. And he dropped down 2 touchdowns, 137 yards. Can he continue this trend against a team like the Rams, and then Chicago, and then Detroit?
The Rams, no. Chicago, Detroit, yes. I think the Rams are going to be his toughest matchup. Do I think he has the talent? Yes. He's finally showing the talent that they drafted. Is a good way to put it. With the whole Chris Carson injury and being shut down for the year, Penny coming back from his injury. Injury was because he's been bit by the injury bug throughout his early career. This was the Penny everybody thought they were getting. And I absolutely love it because coming out of college, he was high on my list. He's never seen his potential. This game showed his potential. So I'm thinking against the Rams, he's going to. You need to taper your expectations. If you can slide him in and you've got enough points around him, great, because he's going to feast the next two games. But this Rams game is the outlier. It's the one that's he's going to see a tremendous regression from this past week. So this week versus the Rams, no. Going forward, plug and play.
I mean, but realistically, the biggest problem that we have here is that it's slow your roll on it because you got to win this next week. Now, don't get me wrong. In one of my leagues, I am running back destroyed in like a redraft league, and I am sending all my fab to him to get him this week because I just need a running back. Now at the receiver position, which I'm gonna say right now, I don't know what it is. I know for the past whatever, it seems like you can always rely on certain receivers. The top guys are always really good, but this year when we're going over like our starts and sits, and I would need to like sit a receiver, man, I see those first like 20 guys every week, and I'm like, they're all good. They're all good. They're all gonna just play any of them. And I think that holds up here too. And it holds up true. Now, we just had Hunter Renfro. 29 fantasy points. Darren Waller was ruled out, so maybe that's a reason. Josh Jacobs didn't get a touchdown. They were getting destroyed by Kansas City. But here's the thing. 3 straight games with 100 yards. 3 straight games with at least 8 catches. And then 3 straight games with at least 9 targets. Volume equals value. We always talk about this. He is now wide receiver 12 on the year in fantasy. Do you trust Hunter Renfro to win you a fantasy championship this year?
Yes, because there's nobody else on that team. And he is a PPR magnet. He is Cooper Kupp off Wish, I guess you could say.
Light. Cooper Kupp light.
Well, no, I won't even give him that. I'll give him if you order Cooper Kupp off Wish, this is who you get.
Okay.
Because he's not going to he doesn't have the breakaway speed, but he's got that elusive speed where he can use his footwork to make you miss rather than outrun you. Who he really reminds me of is I'm going to go back a few years. A guy that started out as a special teams returner and became a PPR monster when he got paired with Brady. Once he left Miami and went to New England and got paired with Brady, Wes Welker defined his career. He would get you those chunk yards. He would average, in that 70 to 115 range with 10 to 15 receptions. He gets that trust. His quarterback. They move the chains. He was an intricate part of Brady's success. I don't care what anybody says. Renfro, same thing. He's built that repertoire with Carr, where Carr trusts him, especially with Waller out. Unfortunately, everything that happened with Ruggs, losing their top receiver there, Waller being out, Carr has that safety blanket still yet, which is someone who moves the chains, who's going to be that PPR magnet. So yeah, I actually think he's going to be moving up a lot of draft boards going into next year as well, because he's showing that he can produce under the most insane circumstances.
No, I agree 100%. And I think he's a guy that is he's going to be sitting in flex spots a lot next year. Just as like, that's my flex guy. He's always right there. And I think it's going to continue to be that way. And you're never going to have to worry about it or defer. Now, I wanted to talk about all positions like tight end as well. But unfortunately for tight end is kind of going how it's supposed to go. I mean, obviously we had, I'm not even going to try and pronounce his last name for Denver, Albert Akuwang Bunam.
Akuna Matata.
But even he dropped 15.
I'll say
points.
Akuna Matata.
Yeah. Well, he dropped 15 fantasy points this week and everything, but outside of that, it kind of went how it was supposed to go. Guys that were good, Kittle, Andrews, Knox, they delivered. So actually, perfect. This is what we'll talk about. All right. I want to go the opposite way because all I've been talking about is like good trends that have happened. We have a bad trend. The past 2 weeks, Travis Kelce has a combined, at least in fractional point leagues, 11.4 points in the past 2 weeks. He now has, let's go over this real quick. 4 games where he scored less than 7 fantasy points, which should never happen in a high volume passing offense where he's the number 1, number 2 target most days. Can you trust Travis Kelce going down the line? Like, I know we're in this position where like he's the best tight end in football. So like we have to play him. You drafted him in the first, early second. But should you? Do you trust him going forward?
I'm not trusting. I'm not trusting. And I'm not trusting. And I'm going to argue the best tight end in football because George Kittle is there.
Availability is the best ability, though.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that. I mean, I think they're interchangeable. I don't think you're going to go wrong with either one of them as your top tight end. If you take Kelce before, Kittle, but as far as I think it's more of a, and this is what I seen somebody else talk about this, and it really brought up a good point. Is and everybody, they're saying, they're real down on him. But what is Kansas City getting ready to do? They're getting ready to go on a playoff run. If they're out there, they don't want to risk him taking some crazy hit. They're in most of these games, they're not close. They're got a lead. They don't want to risk him, and somebody said they're kind of resting him up for the playoff push. Makes sense because you don't want. That's an intricate part of your offense that you want defenses to plan for in the playoffs. But you talked about the kid in Denver. Let's talk about another tight end that hasn't produced that I've had on every league because I'm a Noah Fant truther who has not done shit lately. And I don't know if it's the offense. I want to say it's the offense because Sutton hasn't done anything either. But then you see these other targets on the team that are producing. So Noah Fant is not getting love, and Hawkinson is people souring on him. So this tight end position is really going to be interesting in coming in next year.
Well, yeah, but Kelce, just this year, I think
Kelce. Because, you got people that has Hawkinson, you got people that's playing Fant. This year, I think you're seeing the most, diversity across the tight end after your first tier. That second tier is anything. Kelce he's going to be fine. He's going to get his targets. Don't sour on him. Trust him.
So you would start Travis Kelce this week, even after 2 bad weeks in a row. You're trusting him to come back to life.
Yes, he's a plug and play player. I have no issues with him.
I agree, and I think you should stay in that position. I do think when you have these guys, it's so hard for me. If I draft a guy in the first, second round, unless they go on like IR, they're out and they're hurt, I feel like I have to play them every week. Simple as that. I feel like it's a waste, and you don't. The moment you decide to sit Kelce after he has 2 bad weeks, he's going to go off for like 25. And really the matchups across the tight end board right now, they're not that great in like your waiver wire. Some of your guys that are like your tier 3 tight ends that you will try and pick up. Ultimately, it'll be better. It'll get good. So yeah. So we got a lot of trends, a lot of stuff's going on, but that's our show. That's simple. Make sure your league stays competitive. Don't let everybody in your league care about themselves. Care about the league first. It's most important with the consolation bracket, the toilet bowls. Stay tuned as we talk about, Jason's got 6 dynasty leagues. He's trying to go for championship in. I got 8 I'm trying to go for. Hopefully we can bring home some hardware this year. Otherwise, I have to cut leagues.
Some hardware.
Which is a big thing. If I don't win a single league, I have to cut out leagues. I have to. It's a rule. And yeah, see if these fantasy trends will continue or not going into the week 1 of your playoffs. Again, follow us down below, hit subscribe, like, tell us how many leagues you're in the playoffs in currently, how many opportunities you have to win some money. And yeah, that's it for us. He is Jason. I'm Tyler. Follow us, DM us, be on the lookout for our starts and sits of the week. And good luck in your fantasy playoffs.